He was the most beloved god in all of Asgard, the shining son of Odin and Frigg, gentle, wise, invincible. Nothing could harm him until the one god who called him brother decided he'd had enough. Loki didn't kill Baldr with his own hands. No, he found a way to make someone else do it. Someone innocent, someone blind. And when Baldr fell, the gods wept. But Loki, he laughed. This is the story of the death that shattered the gods, the murder that set the end of the world in motion, Loki's ultimate betrayal. Before the darkness, there was Baldr. He was not the strongest nor the oldest, but he was the most loved. To the gods of Asgard, Baldr was a symbol of everything they wanted to protect: beauty, kindness, wisdom, and peace. They called him the god of light. His presence brought calm. His voice softened anger. Even the fiercest gods, like Thor and Tyr, lowered their weapons in his presence. To Odin and Frigg, Baldr was a promise, a future without war, a light that could lead the gods into a gentler age. But light attracts shadows. And somewhere nearby, Loki watched. It began with dreams. Baldr began to see visions in his sleep, visions of blood, of fire, of death. He would wake gasping, drenched in sweat, whispering of shadows that swallowed the sun. The dreams became more vivid, more terrifying, more frequent. The gods, shaken, turned to Odin. And Odin, fearing prophecy, did what few dared. He rode to the underworld. He traveled beyond the land of the living, into the realm of hell, where the dead reside. There in the mists, he found a shadowy seeress and demanded answers. She told him what he feared most. Baldr will die, and when he dies, Ragnarok will begin. The end of the gods. Frigg could not accept this. The queen of the gods, powerful in foresight and magic, swore she would stop fate. She traveled across the 9 realms and made every living thing swear an oath: harm not my son. Steel, stone, fire, water, every creature, plant, and element took the vow. Even poison, even disease, even death itself, all except one. A single harmless little sprout: mistletoe. Frigg had ignored it, believing it too young, too soft, too insignificant to matter. She had overlooked it, and Loki had noticed. With Baldr invincible, the gods rejoiced. They turned his immortality into a game. In the great halls of Asgard, they hurled stones at him, spears, axes, fire, each one bouncing off harmlessly. Baldr stood laughing, radiant as ever, while the gods celebrated his protection. But on the edges of the feast, Loki stood alone, smiling for a different reason. He saw the flaw, he saw the weapon, and he saw the one who would wield it. Baldr had a twin. His name was Hodr, a quiet, gentle god born blind. Where Baldr was light, Hodr was shadow. But they loved one another dearly, 2 halves of the same soul. During the games, Hodr stayed back, smiling quietly, unable to join in. He could not aim, could not see, could not throw. Loki approached him with a voice like silk. "Why don't you take a turn, Hodr?" "I can't." "I'll guide your hand. I'll tell you where he stands. Here, use this spear. It's light. You'll feel it cut through the air." The spear was made of mistletoe, the one thing in all the world that had not sworn to spare Baldr. The gods were laughing, clapping, as Hodr stepped forward. They did not see Loki step back. They did not notice the way he vanished behind a pillar. Hodr raised the spear, unknowing. He threw. There was no sound at first, just the soft whistle of air, and then the silence of shock. Baldr's chest jerked. The laughter died. He fell. The god of light fell. His eyes wide, his mouth open, blood blooming across his perfect white tunic. No one moved. The unthinkable had happened. There is no word for what Odin felt. He had lost sons before. He had seen bloodshed. But this was different. Baldr wasn't just his son. He was the future, the hope, the dream of peace. Frigg collapsed. Thor roared. Hodr stood frozen in horror, his hand still extended, still clutching air. And Loki was gone. Gone before the blood dried. Gone before the body hit the floor. Only later did they discover the truth. Only later did they realize the mistletoe was no accident. Loki had planned it, crafted it, whispered it. He had turned a brother into a killer, and he had done it with a smile. But the gods would not give up. Baldr was not yet in Hel's grasp. His soul lingered in the underworld, mourned by every creature across the realms. Frigg begged the gods to act, and Odin agreed. They sent Hermod, swiftest of gods, to ride Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged steed, into the realm of the dead. There, in the cold and gloom of Helheim, Hermod found Baldr seated in shadows, pale but calm. The queen of the dead, Hel herself, agreed to a bargain. If every being in the 9 realms weeps for Baldr, I will release him. It was done. The gods spread word far and wide, and everyone, everything wept. Even trees, even stones, even giants. Except one. There was an old woman named Thok. She lived in a cave, far in the mountains. When asked to shed a tear for Baldr, she refused. Let Hel keep what she has. Why should I cry for him? The gods begged her, pleaded. She stood firm. Baldr would not return. It was Loki, disguised in the shape of an old crone, a final act of cruelty. One last petty twist of the knife. He would not even allow Baldr to rest in peace. The Aesir had endured enough. Loki had betrayed them before, stolen treasures, caused mischief, sparked fights. But this was different. This was murder. This was war. They searched the 9 realms, and they found him, hiding in the mountains, transformed into a salmon, slipping through waterfalls to escape their wrath. But even a trickster runs out of luck. They caught him, dragged him back in chains, and then the punishment began. The gods took Loki's sons. One was turned into a wolf and made to tear the other apart. The entrails were used to bind Loki to the rocks. They took a serpent, hung it above his face, and let its venom drip onto his skin, drop by drop. He screamed, his body twisted. The earth itself trembled from his agony. His wife, Sigyn, stayed beside him, catching the venom in a bowl. But when the bowl filled and she turned to empty it, the drops burned his face, and he howled. They left him there, broken, bleeding, forgotten beneath the earth. Waiting, because someday the chains would break, and Loki would return. The death of Baldr was not the end. It was the beginning, because prophecy had warned them, if Baldr fell, the end would come. And now, the dominoes were falling. Fimbulwinter would arrive, 3 years of ice and snow. The gods would be torn apart. Giants would rise. Wolves would devour the sun. And Loki? He would walk again, at the head of an army of monsters, giants, and the dead, leading the charge against the very gods he once called family. The death of Baldr was no accident. It was a choice. A betrayal so deep, it broke the world. Loki didn't kill Baldr out of chaos. Not really. He did it because Baldr was everything he wasn't. Beloved, trusted, pure. A future king. A light in the dark. And Loki? He was the shadow. No one remembered the clever plans. No one praised the jokes. No one saw the pain behind the smile. So he burned it all, not with fire, but with a single lie, a whisper and a sprig of mistletoe. And when it was done, when Baldr's light had gone out forever, Loki laughed. If that betrayal shook you, hit that like button to let the gods know you're watching. Subscribe for more mythology stories they don't want you to hear, and tell us in the comments, did Loki go too far? Or was he always meant to break the gods? Because here, we don't just tell myths. We expose the divine scandals behind them.